Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Tea Time with Sahdi and Omni, where we drink the tea and spill the tea about our weekly spiritual practices. I'm Omni.
And I'm Sahdi.
And today's episode is all about Ascension Symptoms. We're going to go over what Ascension Symptoms are, what you can do to help with them, burnout, studies that support them, and a timeline for your Ascension Symptoms.
So yeah, let's just get into it and talk about what Ascension Symptoms are. Omni, you've been actually experiencing some Ascension Symptoms. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when you're really focusing on your spiritual journey and you are practicing so much and learning so much and trying different things, and you start to feel really run down, even though you're getting the sleep.
Yeah, because I remember you went to the waterfall and you did a big releasing.
Yeah, I was like guided because I went there for one reason and ended up doing something completely different.
And it was releasing things that had been attached to you since childhood.
Yeah.
When you came out of that, you were feeling so amazing.
Yeah.
And you leveled up and you reached a new vibration and a new level of consciousness. And then immediately after that, you got sick.
Yep.
Things like that can happen. So if you've had a big spiritual awakening, or you've done a big ceremony or a massive download like Omni you had, or even if you've just been doing little things, inner work, and feeling the shift within yourself, as your vibration raises and you start to vibe into a new frequency, your body can start to act up.
You're moving energy.
And sometimes you can start to feel worse before you start to feel better. You're evolving. You have to adapt to a new vibration.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a minute for your body and your energetic system to really catch up with that new version of you.
I mean, think about a snake. It's got to be uncomfortable in that skin and shed it before it's a new being.
Yeah, a lot of times, and I don't want to scare anybody, we're going to go through these symptoms, but we talk a lot about the light side of leveling up and reaching a new vibration and new levels and all of these other things. But it's important to talk about both sides of the fence when it comes to that.
Because we don't want anybody to feel like they're doing something wrong or to not understand what's going on with them and to be scared and back out.
Yeah, change is uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah, it's not always easy, but it's worth it in the long run. As humans, we're not supposed to stay stagnant. And sometimes it's really easy to stay comfortable.
Oh, yeah. It's always easy to stay comfortable, I feel.
In your old habits and your old behaviors and your relationships and different things that you have. But when you feel called to change and to shift, it's so powerful. And sometimes it can be in the little things, but sometimes it's such a huge shift that your body just reacts to it. And you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep, you have insomnia, your emotions are all over the place, or you're exhausted, or you can't stop crying, and you're just like, what is going on?
Or you're angry out of nowhere, Sahdi.
Right. Yeah, I think I talked about that before. I did a major energy shift and I was just mad. But that pushed me into such a huge energetic level up for me that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah. It triggered a huge healing for you, too.
It really did. And some of the Ascension symptoms, they can be all over the place. They can vary. And so it's really easy to confuse them with third dimensional ailments. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I just got the flu, or oh, I just pulled a muscle in my back. There's many, but some of the symptoms I'm going to list here. So being really tired or bursts of energy. So you can start to feel like you're bipolar. Either you're really, really tired or you're wide awake and you have so much energy you don't know what to do with it.
That's me on the reg.
Right. That's your body trying to regulate your new vibration.
Yeah.
And then you can have headaches or pressure in the crown and the forehead. And you experienced those, Omni, when you were first starting to really activate your third eye and your crown chakra. That can really cause sinus infections and really bad headaches, migraines even.
Yeah.
And that's completely normal. People really think there's something wrong with them, like I have a brain tumor or something because...
Yeah. And you told me when I first started experiencing that it's like a muscle and you got to work it out. So you got to keep pushing. It's not something you should back away from.
Take it easy though, go slow. And sometimes that can happen too because we can have a huge spiritual awakening and it can rip our third eye open and that can cause
spiritual psychosis.
Yes, that can happen. Or it can just cause pain.
Yeah.
But you will heal and you will get better and you will regenerate. And then sometimes you can just get body aches and joint pain or tension. in different areas. And that's showing you where you still need to heal.
Yeah.
Because your body is hitting a different frequency. It's almost like a map showing you to what parts of your body are still holding lower vibrational energy. So you're supposed to lean into that and stretch into that and focus on those areas.
Shadow work. When I started doing somatic stuff and I was having that ache in my right lower side, and you're like, that's childhood trauma on the male side. And I'm like, damn, okay.
Right.
And I dove in and did some shadow work on it. It's beautiful because otherwise you don't really know where to direct
you have
yourself.
to listen to your body.
Yes.
It's telling you what you need through these ascension symptoms.
Yes.
And some people can develop dizziness and vertigo, and that's because they're ungrounded. Some people get really nauseous. They just develop these stomach issues, or they can't eat certain foods anymore. Like some people will go completely vegan.
Yep.
Or they'll develop allergies to things that they never had allergies to before when they level up. Ginger.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I'm just realizing, you guys, as I'm speaking this, that I love ginger. And I've always been able to eat it, drink it, whatever, in my teas. And when I just went through this big spiritual leveling up, I developed an allergy to it. And I cannot drink ginger anymore. I tried to drink it in tea and my lips swelled up and my tongue went numb.
That's so
I
wild.
had
Yeah.
a really bad allergic reaction to it. And I've never been that way.
Just made that connection. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just made that connection too. And so it can even be something like that.
Yeah.
And you can have heart palpitations. You can think you're actually going to die from some of these symptoms. You know what I mean? You can end up like calling your doctor or going to the emergency room, thinking you're having a heart attack or having a lot of pressure in your chest area. And it's not medically related at all. You know, it just has to do with your body, again, you know, adjusting.
Trying to show you.
And then changes in sleep. This is a big one. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
what a lot of people have. They either get insomnia or they're waking up at certain times like 333, 555, or they're waking up every single hour, or they can't go to sleep at all, or they're sleeping constantly. Like they can't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
They're like go to bed and then they wake up 12 hours later and they're like, holy shit, I didn't even know I could sleep for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
I've had those.
Yeah.
All of
That's
them. All of
normal.
them. All of them. All my sleep patterns have to do with my
And
spiritual.
then tingling, like tingling in the hands and the feet or the spine or near the chakras, that's also showing your body where it needs to be healed and to rest through the transition. And then flu-like symptoms, fluctuations with your body temperature, having trouble regulating your body temperature, like being really hot or really cold, having night sweats and stuff like that. Hormonal fluctuations are a big one for women, even for men too, like their testosterone could be too low or too high.
Your menstruation cycles.
Yes.
Where they'll sync up to the full moon randomly.
Exactly.
Fine.
Right?
Yes, I should do a ritual with this tonight.
Right? You should.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it can just be like random waves of sadness and grief. And you're like, where did that come from? Like I was just fine. And now all of a sudden I can't breathe. I'm so sad.
Yeah.
Or you just rage out or get mad about something and you don't even know why you're mad.
Right.
So sometimes that can happen. And that's because like old wounds and memories and stuff like that are resurfacing because you have regulated yourself and you have tapped into a new frequency and it feels safe to come up to the surface now to be healed.
Yeah.
Because it can't come with you to the new version of you.
Right.
Right. So all of that old stuff is just wasteful. It needs to be expelled from your body. And it can come out in tears. It can come out through everything that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Night sweats and screaming and crying and being sick and getting the phlegm out of your body. It's gross, but it's your body rejecting anything that's low vibrational. And this one, I remember going through this. I call it the dark night of the soul. And we're going to actually be doing a Lionsgate episode all about this soon. So if you don't know what the dark night of the soul is, just wait, we're going to tell you all about it. And I went through that. I remember just thinking to myself, I want to go home. And I was already home. I was in my house and I was just like, I want to go home. I want to go home. Something deep inside of your soul just doesn't want to be here anymore. You just want to go home. It's like you want your mom or you know what I mean? And it's not, you don't want your mom. You just want that You don't
love.
even know where home is, but you know it's not here. A lot, that's an ascension symptom as well. But there's so many different things. There's mental crises and being foggy brain, forgetful, and
That's me every day.
time distortions and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like losing interest in things that you used to be interested in because it just doesn't resonate with you anymore.
Right. I think reflection too is a big part of seeing these as a pattern in your past and being like, oh man, I leveled up from that.
Yeah.
And that's why reflection is so important on your life journey on every level, spiritual, physical, mental, to identify those ascension symptoms so that you know how to handle them later on.
Exactly.
Because you're going to keep leveling up.
Yeah. And then there's some fun ascension symptoms too that come with it. You start closing your eyes and seeing like light codes and sacred geometry, or when you're meditating, I feel like I'm astral projecting, or, you know, you're seeing things vividly. You're not just closing your eyes and seeing darkness. You're seeing colors and light and patterns, and you're getting messages, feeling more through your body, and you're seeing everything like is synchronistically lining up for you. Like this license plate and this number and everything you're seeing is just a message to you, and your empathy and your psychic awareness and everything is just on fire.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. And then you want to detox and you want to fast. Some of those can be really interesting and fun, but then you can have burnout.
Yeah.
It's really hard to stay in that frequency forever. And even though they're kind of the fun side of the ascension symptoms, you can burn out from them too.
Yeah, because you're only human. Your soul is inside of an avatar that can't stay in that frequency 24/7. But ascension symptoms don't have a fixed timeline. They vary from person to person, and it depends on the intensity of the energetic shift. So basically, depending on the timeline of your ascension symptoms, you know how deeply rooted they are. It can help you pinpoint where they're coming from, which is important because when you come across them later, you can identify them and it can help you get through them easier. It can help you level up faster, such as in short term, if you have a few days of ascension symptoms to a few weeks, that is common during collective energy events like eclipse or retrogrades.
Or solar flares and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They may not feel so intense when I get a headache when we do live readings sometimes. And they usually pass when the energy stabilizes, such like Mercury retrograde. Everyone talks about that one, messing with you, but it messes with you with a fixed timeline. So you can look forward to that in the future and be like, well, this is how Mercury retrograde affects me personally. Because we've gone over the retrogrades in past episodes and how they collectively affect everyone, but everybody is a little different. So
if you're prepared for it,
you know exactly what to do.
So if you get a headache every retrograde, then start working on your third eye and activating your chakra there, and doing the exercise.
Yes.
So when it comes back around again, you won't get your headaches.
Exactly. If it's medium term, like several weeks to months, sometimes that happens during deep inner work. So that points to needing to do some shadow work and some trauma healing, such as childhood. I would say if you're feeling in a rut for a few days, that's one thing. But when you're feeling sad for a few weeks to a few months, then that points to inner work that you need to do to uplift you back up. That is the ascension symptom of you need to shed serious layers to elevate to the next level. For long term, which is usually a year or more, off and on, symptoms that would show up would happen in those who have accelerated spiritual paths, light worker roles, or dealing with ancestral past life karma. And it can feel like a spiritual flu that flares up during major growth portals, kind of like what you were saying, how you start to feel like you have the flu after a major healing.
Right.
But then it goes away. It's more so your body trying to move that old energy out. But here are some good signs that it's easing. You feel more grounded in your body, which is a big thing. The emotional waves soften and become easier to navigate. So it doesn't feel like you're on a boat that's in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
And you gain clarity and your intuition heightens and your life begins to align more authentically. And that is huge.
Right.
That's the goal, is to live authentically. So being in that vibration is key.
Yeah, because when your soul really starts to wake up, it doesn't check in with you. It doesn't ask you for permission like, hey, ego, can I do this? It doesn't care what you're doing. It doesn't matter if your schedule's full or if your relationship looks good on paper or anything like that. It's coming for everything that's fake and fragile and built on survival mode in your life.
Yep.
And it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me, kidney. I gotta make
Yep.
room.
Yeah, it's like you don't need this in your life anymore. And you feel sick because your body's been holding pain in that it wasn't even supposed to be carrying in the first place, but it was. So you've been carrying around all this bullshit with you and it takes it from you. Think about it when you leave a toxic relationship. Everybody's left a toxic relationship before. And right after you leave it, you're thinking, wow, this person was a real piece of shit. They treated me horribly and I should feel better.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy.
Don't, because you're trying to heal from all of that. Now, yes, you've gotten this toxic person out of your life. They're not there anymore, but they've left this emptiness. And then you have to start filling it with all of these things that make you happy again.
Yep.
Your body has to adjust. Your nervous system has to adjust. Your mind has to adjust to being alone, being in that new vibrational energy without that other person in it. Sometimes you're carrying pain that really wasn't even yours. You're carrying your mama's pain and your ancestors' pain and whatever. And then when you start raising your vibration, your body's like, it's finally safe to let all of this out. And then it cues the migraines and the body aches and the exhaustion and the breakdowns and the meltdowns and all of that. Then you start to feel depressed because you're finally taking that mask off and what's underneath it. That authenticity that you were just talking about, your real true self is underneath there. You can't just pretend anymore.
Yeah.
You can't be fake. You have to be real, and real is fucking scary. And your soul is just done pretending, and you can't push through it anymore because you're being forced to rest. Sometimes you'll break an ankle. You will hurt yourself if you don't slow down.
Oh, I've been there so many times.
You will get sick, so you will stop. You will get fired from a job that you were supposed to leave because you have to. You're being forced to feel and listen and shed and be sad and grieve for who you thought you had to be. And then that causes anxiety and stress because your nervous system is trying to reboot.
Yeah.
And it's downloading
The update.
Right. It's like downloading divine Wi-Fi with a dial-up modem.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling everything. Even the stuff that doesn't even belong to you, your energy is getting really, really sensitive. It's like nerves. It's starting to come alive again. Even your relationships. It feels wrong because the version of you that chose that relationship is dying. Or it's dead. That person doesn't exist anymore. And the people and the habits and the jobs and the dreams that used to match the old vibration of yourself, they might not come with you until into the next chapter. And it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk about that part of fucking spirituality very often about I might be homeless.
Yeah.
You know, I might have no friends. You know, your world could be falling apart because your soul is rearranging everything. You said you wanted to grow and you prayed for alignment. You know, you're doing all these spells and these rituals and you're like, oh, spells and rituals and, you know, lighting candles and petitions. You're like, take everything negative out of my life. And you're activating all of these things for yourself. And you said you wanted it. And you called in your higher self. And guess what? That's how your higher self moved.
Yeah. I was going to say that higher self came
Right?
and yanked you out of that lower vibration.
Right. And ascension symptoms aren't cute. They're messy. If they're messy, it means it's working.
Yeah. Really stop in, look back and reflect and check in with yourself and think about some of the spiritual things you've done or been through and the symptoms that you experienced.
And then don't give up because that's where a lot of people are just like, oh man, I started doing all this spiritual shit. I started raising my vibration. I lost my relationship. I lost this, that, the other thing, or this happened to me. I got really sick. I broke my ankle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they get scared and then they go back into their little
Hide a hole.
yep. And their growth stops. And you're not supposed to stay comfortable. You're supposed to keep moving. That's how you do it. You're supposed to trust the process and keep going.
Because if you stay stagnant, it just calcifies and gets harder.
Yes. Your soul is detoxing lifetimes of suppressed emotion, or even just from this lifetime.
Yeah.
And then we've been taught to like numb it instead of feel it.
Oh, yeah.
We have to feel it.
I'm a master of that.
Right. We're raised in a world where they say, take this pill and you don't have to cry.
Yep.
Let's give you a mood stabilizer. I'm just taking a mood stabilizer. Not to judge anybody who's on mood stabilizers because we love you. But sometimes your mood doesn't need to be stabilized.
Yeah.
You need to cry. You need to freak out. You need to be super, super happy sometimes too. And they call that bipolar. Could just be ascension symptoms because your body's trying to regulate, or smoke this or drink this or scroll on that or whatever. And the pain will fade. And it does. It works for a little bit.
Doesn't go away. You just numb it.
And then what happens? It comes back and then it's louder because pain demands to be felt. One way or another, it's going to be felt. And then it gets to a point where we can't control it. And then that's when we get anxiety and panic attacks and chronic pain. It's not something that we're just dealing with that we can go through and then get over. Now it's maybe for the rest of our lives. We didn't heal it. We just paused it.
And then it built up.
And then the pause button broke and your soul is like tired of being quiet and your body's sick of whatever wasn't processed. And you tried antidepressants and weed and wine and toxic relationships and TV and being busy and people pleasing even and being the strong one. But the energy, it's not going to disappear. If you're supposed to evolve, you're going to evolve anyway. If your sole purpose is to move to the next level, you're going to go kicking and screaming. Your spirit guides and your higher self are going to grab you and pull you through that portal.
Do you want to slide through the portal or do you want to be dragged there by your hair?
Yeah.
This isn't just a theory. This isn't just hearsay. There's even studies that support ascension symptoms. There's a neuroplasticity and spiritual practices study in 2008 in the IEEE Signal Processing magazine published. And it showed that meditation and spiritual practice cause measurable change in the brain. So this was studied, this was measured, and especially in areas linked to emotional regulation, perception, and awareness. These changes can produce physical and emotional effects, such as what people experience when they say they are having ascension symptoms. There's another study, the Kundalini Awakening Psychophysiological Symptoms Study in 93, and that was a Journal of Transpersonal Psychology. And it showed that some spiritual awakening, especially Kundalini experiences, include physical and psychological effects that mirror the reported ascension symptoms, like tingling, like you were saying, energy surges, or emotional turbulence. And then this last study, psychological transformation and somatic symptoms, and that was in 2012, and it was published in the International Journal of Transpersonal Studies. And it was a study showing that spiritual awakening often includes significant psychological shifts accompanied by somatic symptoms such as changes in sleep, which we talked about, energy, or mood, especially during intense personal growth.
So if you've just gone through anything like that, like you feel like you just leveled up, you just had an awakening of some kind, and then any of these things start to happen to you, you're not crazy.
Yeah. Don't gaslight yourself.
Don't. And don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't you dare give up.
There's been studies. It's backed by the scientific community.
Yeah.
But I believe that is all the tea we have to spill today. And as always, remember to keep your minds open.
Namaste, bitches.